From the Carson Student Athlete Center in the Schaefer Sports Hall of Fame here in Tempe, Arizona, it is Sun Devil Extra, presented by Spring Hill Suites, Phoenix, Scottsdale. I'm Braiden Bell, joined alongside Arizona State Athletic Director Graham Rossini. Very busy week of Sun Devil athletics. Again, a lot to cover on today's program, but like we normally do, we'll start with talking about Sun Devil football. Of course, they're moving into a bye week now, but we'll talk about last week's ball game to start off the show today. A tough loss, 24-14 to Cincinnati. The Devils now 5-2 on the year. A road game that started off really well for ASU, scoring the first touchdown, forced a 3-and-out, had an early pick, and then things kind of unraveled in that first half, battled back in the second half a bit, but ultimately just not quite enough to come back.
Yeah, I think we've tried to focus on the silver linings in being here 5-2 going in the bye week and really in control of our destiny, which is exciting to be able to say. But I think everybody's frustrated with how Cincinnati ended up going. You know, the way that we got out, scoring early, a nice stop and then a quick turnover, and it never really recovered from there. So I think there's a lot of valuable lessons learned in a game like that. And I appreciate the fact that after the Texas Tech game, kind of that chance to really get back to the drawing board, use how we played as a way to reinforce some of the things that are important to the coaches and take advantage of a chance to get bodies healthy, team focused once again, and then as we go into this next really, really important chapter of the season, find the good moments of the game that we want to reinforce, use the parts of the game where we want to be able to lock it in advance of Oklahoma State. But tough pill to swallow, right? A game that we felt like we didn't put our best foot forward. We didn't really compete. Cincinnati's a good club. There's no doubt that we were playing a good opponent, but lots to learn from, and we want to use that as a positive moving forward.
Obviously, one of the big storylines that we did not touch on last week on the program because it hadn't been announced yet, but Sam Leavitt did not play against Cincinnati. Jeff Sims filled in for him, and there were some good things. There were some things that, of course, the offense could have had go better for them overall, but Sims had to step in, play his first game of the year, really, besides a couple of snaps here and there early on in the season and against Utah as well. That's always an adjustment. Coach Dillingham talked about it all week long, though. It's an experienced guy who's started at Georgia Tech and at Nebraska. He's played in big games before. But obviously that was an adjustment for the offense.
Yeah, well, it's good that he's now got some reps underneath him as a Sun Devil, and there's no replacement for that kind of experience. And even what Coach mentioned earlier in the week is now they can build a game plan that's more suited for how he plays the game in the event that Sam's not back for our next one. So, it's helpful, I think, for Jeff to kind of get the reps again, be back under the lights. I give him a lot of credit for staying ready. He's been an incredible teammate. He's been an unbelievable value-add member of this team, even though he hasn't gotten the playing time that he may have been accustomed to throughout his career. But the fact that he stayed ready, the fact that now we've got a game of understanding what he brings to the table, there's just a different dimension of his game that's unique and exciting. And one thing Coach has mentioned is now we've kind of seen him in action, and we want to build a game plan that fits his best attribute, fits his size, his speed, his ability to move in the pocket, throw the ball, etc. We'll be better suited for the next time he has to play if Sam's not quite ready yet.
5 games to go in the regular season now, and even though there are still 5, you've got that second bye week now that's kind of wedged in at a good time for this club, it seems like, to kind of settle down, get healthy, of course, and refocus before another tough road game next weekend against Oklahoma State. And this is a conference that we've talked about a lot. It's almost every single game is a coin flip game, and you look around the conference and there is parity unlike any other league in the country. And you said it best up front. This is still a team that controls their own destiny, and so many things could still happen for this team. Yeah, it was a setback on Saturday, but a lot to look forward to.
I mean, how exciting. We're going into November 5-2, a win away from being bowl eligible, and that's not the goal at this point. We want to really continue to see how good we can be the rest of the schedule. And the conference is wide open. You look at, obviously, BYU, Iowa State playing really, really good football. Colorado seems like they're starting to find their stride, but the rest of it is really kind of mashed up together right now. And so we know that every game moving forward, these final 5 will be really important in terms of what our postseason could look like. And again, we've got one more to win before that's our reality. But 5-2 going into November, how good is that to say, and how good does that feel as we sit here at this particular moment? And I think across the conference we're seeing that. It's balanced, there's parity. Every game happening that we play in, every game happening elsewhere in the conference is going to have ramifications one way or the other. And that's a beautiful thing for the Big 12. So we're excited about where we sit at this particular moment.
It's a really fun league. I think there's one more thing that needs to be said before we close the page on the Cincinnati game. It's that this team, regardless of what happens early on in a game or in the middle part of the game, they're going to fight all the way through. We've seen that time after time in the 2 losses especially. Texas Tech game, there were times where it felt like it really could have gotten away from ASU. It did not. And then in this game, how about the defense pitching a shutout in the second half? I mean, 24-7 at the half, really could have gotten out of hand. They pitch a shutout and gave the offense and the rest of the team a chance to try to come back and make it a game.
Yeah, even on both sides of the ball. I mean, offensively, we had a chance. We had multiple chances in that second half to get back in there and punch through in a couple different moments. But yeah, the halftime adjustments, Coach made that comment right after the game. The more that we've gotten away from it, the more that you definitely appreciate the fact that these guys went back to the drawing board and made some adjustments that actually had a chance to impact our ability to stay in that game and have a chance to win it in multiple occasions. So kudos to the coaches for making those real-time in-game adjustments and giving ourselves a shot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And like we said a couple of times now, a bye week before they get back to action a week from now against Oklahoma State. We'll talk more about that, of course, in next week's program. How about the volleyball team? We've talked so much about them, but for good reason, and they just continue to stay hot. They've played 3 matches since we last had a show a week ago. Well, they swept all 3. Now 19-2 on the year, still ranked 13th in the poll, and there was a little bit of disrespect, if you will, in the first ever top 16 reveal last week. ASU wasn't featured, but this is a team that, as long as they keep winning, and this is a very crucial part of their schedule coming up with 3 straight road matches, just U of A this week, but then they've got BYU and Utah next week, and then the big one against Kansas coming up after that. But they just keep on rolling, and they're sweeping opponents, night in and night out, taking care of GCU on Monday night. A lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, what a fun team to watch. I don't know what else you could say. 19-2. It seems like we're in every game that they've played. Obviously losing to Nebraska, who's now the top team in the country. Baylor snuck by us on the road, but other than that, really no blemishes on the record, including all of these sweeps. I mean, it's just incredible to see. Even last night against GCU, really hard-fought battle. Neither team probably playing their best, but to come out with the first 3 sets, get out of there with the win. Really important, really strong crowd of almost 3,000 on a Monday night for Halloween. That was cool to see. It was fun to be in Mullet Arena for that. Very excited. And, I think it's important that we continue to point out the success that this program's having and wanting to point out that we've got 2 wins against teams that are ahead of us in this latest NCAA composite poll. We've put in a bid to host the regional, which is really important. It's been many, many years since we've had the volleyball tournament here on campus. That's an important goal and expectation of ours in this program. And so we want to fight and keep opening the eyes of the committee and anybody who follows the sport of volleyball in the country that the Sun Devils are having a heck of a season. We want to celebrate these young women and the job that they're doing. The coaches have been incredible, and a lot to be excited about in volleyball as we go down a similarly important stretch run in the month of November.
Was not a fluke last year, and that's what's being proved so far this year. This is a volleyball program that is on the rise and expected to stay up there near the top of the Big 12 and really nationally as well. That's now 4 straight sweeps, as we've said, so they've remained hot, and now you circled their match this weekend on the road in Tucson to take on Arizona. Yeah. You were a Sun Devil, of course. You were part of the baseball program. What is that rivalry like, being a part of it, and how excited do you get for those road matchups?
Yeah, this will be a fun week because we've got volleyball Thursday in Tucson, soccer here Friday at home, and so there's not a better rivalry in sports, in my opinion. And I grew up in the Southeast around the Iron Bowl. I put the Territorial Cup right up against the Iron Bowl, if not ahead of it. It's older. There's more tradition in it, but I don't think anything can get your competitive juices firing more than competing against U of A and having those matchups to, independent of the season, the sport. That's the first game that all of us will always circle on the schedule. And so, we had a really tough match against U of A here a couple weeks ago. We know that they'll be ready. They're really improved as a program compared to last year. New coaching staff as well, but they've made big strides from last year to this year. We know Thursday is going to be a dogfight, but excited for our team and a chance to go down there and score some more Territorial Cup points.
Yeah, no doubt about that, and it is intense all the way through. Like Graham just said, they are an improved program this year as well, and they'll be fired up, but ASU's just got to worry about taking care of business and staying on this hot streak they've had recently. You just talked about soccer, so let's move into that now. It's Senior Day coming up later this week for the Sun Devils, Friday at 7 o'clock. It's going to be nationally televised on ESPNU.
That's right.
The Sun Devil women's soccer team, they just qualified for the Big 12 tournament as well, so something to be proud of. And then you want to close out the regular season strong, try to find some of that momentum before you head to Kansas City. But again, like we just talked about, rivalry setting, Senior Day, all the emotions that come with both of those events combined into one should be quite the setting on Friday.
Yeah, I think the soccer season's been a good indication of the need to get through a Big 12 schedule once and really understand the tendencies of these other programs. We just don't have maybe the same level of perspective or history and understanding who's good at what part of the game. And same thing with soccer, where they've been able to make some mid-game adjustments, get back in the locker room, get a chance to go back to the drawing board. Then even in a game where they might be out of it mathematically, or there seems to be, hey, there's 5 goals in a couple minutes, the way that we've been on the receiving end, that second half is important on setting the tone for the next game you're going to play. And so, inconsistent as of late, but there's a lot riding on Friday night's game, how we go into the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City, and a chance to play our way into the NCAA tournament. And when you look at the back end of your schedule in any sport, I think that's the carrot that all athletes really need, is just understanding that, hey, we have a chance to play our way into the national tournament, and we're sitting there with a chance to do that. And obviously celebrate a very veteran team.
Yeah.
They've been here for a lot of it, and in an era where a lot of transfers are coming and going, and that's the reality of college sports today. I look at our soccer roster and see a lot of these young women who have committed to ASU. They've gotten their degree. Many are working on their grad degree. Jonna was on the show a couple weeks ago and is probably the prime example of valuing her time at ASU. We want to send them off on a high note. She's been an unbelievable member of our program, as well as some of her teammates. And so, and a lot of student interest too. We know Friday night against U of A, there's going to be a lot of ASU students that are here for the matchup, final game at home, sending them into the conference tournament on a high note. And so definitely a matchup to be looking forward to.
You just referred to, a senior-laden group and people that have been around this program for a while.
Yep.
How big is that in today's day and age in college athletics to have some of that continuity, to have some of these people that have been in this program and in this school for several years now?
Yeah, it's always been special. I think now more than ever, because there is temptation to leave for greener pastures if somebody isn't getting the playing time or isn't having the experience that maybe they intended. It works both ways, where there's obviously a lot of inbound interest in ASU from kids in the portal and a number of sports. But I think when you look at somebody who is, and we've had this in multiple sports as of late, of undergrad completion at ASU, working on a master's degree at ASU. I've been in a number of meetings this week as we start to navigate through this class action settlement of the value of a college education. We cannot lose sight of the importance of degree completion, and specifically the degree value of ASU and what that does for you as a Sun Devil for life. We talk about Sun Devils for life as a way to keep people close to the department forever. Part of that is going to be because we believe so much in the value of the ASU education and the value of the degrees that these young men and women are going to acquire while they're here. And so it's just a massive point of pride. Obviously, the success that we've had with our Office of Student Athlete Development, the job that we do investing in making sure that they're successful in the classroom, successful in the community, and obviously successful in their sport. Any chance you can celebrate a senior or somebody who's represented ASU, it's always special. But now more than ever, when you do look at somebody who's gotten an undergrad degree and a master's degree and is interested in a law school or medical school, tremendous points of pride for the Sun Devils.
Absolutely, and like we said, that game against U of A senior night, as well as obviously the rivalry against Arizona Friday night, 7 o'clock. Come out, Sun Devil Soccer Stadium. Like Graham said, there will be a great student crowd. Should be a fun atmosphere. Yep. If you can't make it, you can watch it on ESPNU, nationally televised as well. Believe it or not, basketball season is here, and that's kind of the motto of the show today, if you will. We'll be joined by Bobby Hurley Jr. coming up later in the program. But Media Day is going on right now. That was just up on ESPNU on the monitor off to our right here in the Schaefer Sports Hall of Fame. But in Kansas City, men's and women's basketball. Media Days, of course, always a fun atmosphere to kind of get that hype going, and the season just about a week, 2 weeks away now.
Yeah, it is amazing that we're almost in November and staring at the start of men's and women's basketball season. And so it's kind of nice. One of the benefits of the Big 12 is a consolidated approach. And so women's basketball with their Media Day today, the men on where are we at? Wednesday.
Yep.
Back-to-back days. So I may not have my dates straight, but at least our coaches are in the right city to do what they need to do and promoting their sports. But I do think, looking ahead a little bit, Kansas City is going to be an incredible home for the conference tournament. I know our fans are very used to Las Vegas and how easy of that trip is. I had a chance to go to Kansas City last March for some Big 12 meetings, but the women's tournament was winding down. The men's tournament was about to start. It's a really, really good setup there. The T-Mobile Center, I think, is the arena there. There's T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, T-Mobile Center. So another kind of unique parallel for us. But the Power and Light District that's in Kansas City, some really good restaurants, some incredible barbecue, which they're known for. A lot of the hotels are walkable right next to the arena. And so the fact that the men's and the women's tournament overlap, and so our Sun Devil fans can go there and hopefully watch both programs compete and play in one location. There's just a cool experience for it. And so, yeah, we're we got a lot to do before
Sure.
conference tournaments, but
Sure.
it's nice that media day is here and a good signal that basketball is right around the corner.
I'm glad you brought that up because I think that is one of the big questions the fan base has going into the Big 12 is that transfer from Las Vegas for the conference tournament over to Kansas City. Very passionate fan bases, of course, in the Big 12 as well. It should be quite the atmosphere. But like you said, long ways away. Women's basketball, they get going on November 4th against Jacksonville State. The men's team, their first regular season game, of course, is on the 5th. But this week, they're in action in a game that has a lot of excitement, a lot of attention. It is the Brotherhood Run charity exhibition game at Duke on Sunday at 4 p.m. It's going to be a really fun game matchup, of course, and for a great cause as well. Bobby Hurley returning to his alma mater. This is something we talked about in our first show way back in August, and now it's here, and it should be a really great event on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm excited for Coach to go back to home, so to speak, and Duke being such a big part of his background experience. He still wears his national championship ring on the sideline, and I know he'll be received like the hero that he is, and very fitting for him to go back to Duke with his Sun Devil team, and kind of it's Devils versus Devils, so it's kind of a unique little angle there, but. Duke is what we're aspiring to become. I mean, that's the kind of basketball program that we've got expectations of growing into here at ASU. And so it's important that not only Bobby gets a chance to go back and be a part of that environment that he knows all so well, but for the current players on the team, for the fans who are joining us on the trip, to see what the top level of college basketball looks like. And that's aspirational. That's something that we want to take a lot of cues away from this weekend and understand how do we keep building our program in terms of the quality of student athlete representing our basketball program, the game day experience, what their arena is like, how it tells the history of the program, and bringing the community support around what we're doing here in Sun Devil basketball. So, and it's for a good cause. I mean, the fact that there's some local organizations in the Triangle area of North Carolina that'll benefit from it, a trip well worth it. It's an exhibition game, so it's a good way for us to really experiment and make some final decisions on the roster that we're going to roll out when the season actually starts. But a lot to look forward to, and it should be a good time for the program. Yeah,
it's exciting, I think, for Sun Devil fans and college basketball fans as a whole. You're seeing Bobby Hurley, one of the icons of the sport, returning to his alma mater. It's really cool.
Absolutely.
You mentioned kind of that measuring stick, if you will. It is just an exhibition game, but you get the sense this is still something you can kind of go and build off of moving forward. It's going to be a challenging schedule, of course, of the Big 12. Then you have a non-conference schedule that's also a challenge. We'll touch more on that in our next couple of segments. But even though it's an exhibition, there's still going to be things that you can take from this as well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we're going to play our best players. We're going to understand how do they really respond when the lights get big. We've had a lot of workouts together. I think that one of the best things we were able to do with our basketball program this summer was a lot of them were here before school even started. And so having some player-led workouts, having some small group instruction, having a chance to come together as teammates. I think in that sport it's very, very important, certainly in all sports, but particularly in basketball when maybe 10 or 11 of the guys on the roster are going to get a majority of the minutes. Them building connections as teammates, them understanding tendencies. There's no replacement for that kind of a connection, and the fact that we got a head start on it is really, really good. Playing a game in Irvine last weekend against UC Irvine to really just play a different uniform, if nothing else, and just get out of some familiar settings. Half of our games are going to be on the road, if not more this year, and so it's important that you kind of get out of that familiar environment. We played well, we won the game. There's a lot of things that the coaches have wanted to reinforce, and they've been hard at work out this week, but it's just nice to get underway. This is a really exciting roster, a lot at stake, meaning that this team is capable of a run. And so we want to nurture them, we want to support them, and we want to get them underway.
One of those secret scrimmages in Irvine last week that really aren't so secret, but that's a whole other conversation. We'll stick with the basketball theme, of course, and like we said, a guy they call Trey joins us next here on Sun Devil Extra. And we're back here on Sun Devil Extra, sticking with the basketball theme today, and we're now joined by senior member of the men's basketball program. It's Bobby Hurley. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So we were just talking with Graham Rossini about the big exhibition game coming up on Sunday against Duke. And of course, that school has so much of a past with your family, specifically with your dad. Knowing you're going in there, it'll be quite the atmosphere, we all assume, with the Blue Devil fans welcoming back in Bobby and yourself, of course, and the rest of this ASU program. How do you envision that setting being for you this weekend?
I think it's going to be really special. It's one of the all-time greats coming back for the first time in a totally different setting. So, I don't know how it's going to be, honestly. I mean, I hope they cheer, not boo. I think that's the right thing to do. No, but I think it's just a lot of excitement around the program to get the opportunity to play at Duke.
What does it mean to you, knowing that, your dad did so much for that program and one of the blue bloods of the sport? What does it mean for you, though, to go back and be able to play on that floor that your dad played on?
I mean, he did not lose on that floor, so,
Right.
I don't want to have a losing record there. I think he only lost, 3 games there. But it's really special. I remember going as a kid, I think 2016, it was Jaleel Okafor and Tyus Jones' year. They won a national championship that year, and we went to the Midnight Madness, and they treat Bobby Hurley like a legend over there. But really, if my number's called and I play, I just am focused on playing well. But I'm really excited.
Your dad and it seems like your whole family, just very intense. You're wired and locked in all the time. Mm-hmm. Do you envision him kind of taking a step back for a moment, maybe when you walk on the floor for the first time or during introductions, where he might take in the moment a little bit?
Yeah, I think during introductions and pre-game activities, he'll definitely take it in. But overall, he is a competitor at heart, so when the ball is jumped, he is going to be completely locked in on winning a basketball game. So
he's going to still be wearing that ring, but he's going to be locked in to beat him, right?
Absolutely.
I want to ask you about when you were growing up, and I think all sons especially, you look up to your dad, and you think your dad is a big deal. Was there a specific moment where you were like, okay, wait, my dad is different?
Yeah, I would say it's when you get access to YouTube and you search up your dad's name. And I remember watching the Michigan game that they played there and at home because they have the full-length games on YouTube. And I was like, I did not know he was this good. And you just kind of watch more and more. And then you start to see the NBA passes he's making. And then you see, oh, he just rejected a ball screen and scored on Gary Payton. So it's just moments like that where you really step back and you're like, he was pretty good.
Yeah, he was different, right? He's not like every other dad out there, I guess.
I don't think any other dad's checking him up.
Let's talk about holidays with your family, because we've already talked about your dad's intensity. Let's talk about your uncle, of course, and what he's done at UConn. Your cousin, now a national championship there. Your grandpa, 39 years at St. Anthony's in New Jersey. When you guys all get together, are you always still competing? Is it more relaxed? What is the vibe like with the whole Hurley clan together?
Yeah, I would say a misrepresentation of the Hurleys is that it is all basketball, all intensity, all competitive. When we're in a relaxed family setting, it is all family talk for the most part. Obviously, sometimes basketball comes up, but it's much more relaxed environment, and that's kind of everyone in our family. Off the court, very relaxed, just kind of want to hang out. Talk about football, talk about golf, talk about anything other than basketball, to be honest.
Step aside, right?
Yeah, step
leave
aside.
it to the side. How has the adjustment been? You moved to Arizona, obviously, like 10 years ago now, and this is where you went to high school, now where you're going to college, of course. How was that adjustment moving to the West Coast and settling and really finding your roots here in the state of Arizona?
Yeah, I would say it was definitely an adjustment. I remember me and my sister flying here, and to fly in, you don't see a lot of green, it's a lot of desert. So it was an adjustment culturally. But I moved, I think, 6 or 7 times in my life, so I was like, this is just another stop. But I've really found Arizona to be a home now.
You've been associated with this program since 2015, and I went to school here. I remember when you would be wearing the bow ties, sitting at the end of the bench, grabbing the stat sheets over by Sean Cresp, Timmy, and Kyle Dodd, and now you're a member of the team, of course, and you have been for 4 years, longest tenured Sun Devil on this year's roster, by the way. When you think about all of the great moments that have happened, from beating Kansas twice to making March Madness, the Guard U years, all of the exciting moments this program has had, and now you being a part of the program, what are some of those top highlights in your mind over the course of the last 9 years, and what are you guys looking to do moving forward as well?
Yeah, I would say you always look at the bad and kind of laugh at it.
Sure.
Yeah, it's the hard days with your teammates in practice that a lot of people don't see that are really the best moments because you get the most connected. Something that was really fun we did last year was the overseas foreign trip, and that was just great spending time with my teammates, and also my sophomore year going to the NCAA tournament and playing really well. So that I've had a lot of good moments here, made a lot of great connections with both coaches and teammates. He
just mentioned practice, by the way. It should be noted he just came from practice. He was running through ball screens. So he might still be a little shaky right now, but you couldn't tell. This guy's a pro when he's got the mic on as well. Speaking of which, I want to ask you about that. You are a sports journalism major, went to the Cronkite School, which is a great program, right?
Yeah.
Shout out Cronkite, of course, always. what kind of inspired you to go down that path, and how much do you enjoy being also in front of the camera as well, not just playing basketball?
Yeah, no, I love talking about basketball. The first time I realized I should do it was actually with Tim Healy.
Okay.
He did an interview with me for a pregame show versus Washington State, probably when I was like 14.
Still rocking the bow ties at that point, right?
Yeah. And I showed it to my mom, and she was like, "Bobby, you are really good at this." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Maybe I should pursue this as a passion," because it was something I really just enjoyed doing. And so going to Cronkite was a great experience. Just a ton of internships and opportunities you get there. And so I kind of just wanted to go that route, and now I got Sean Crespin, shout out to him, helping me out. So just trying to perfect my craft before I get out into the real world.
Sean might be able to correct us here. I would imagine he's currently an intern with Sun Devil Radio Network.
Correct.
Has to be the first ever intern to be on the program.
Yeah, and on a team.
And on a team.
Yeah, so there's that.
We're really breaking barriers all over the place today with this interview. When your playing career is done, where do you want this career to eventually mold into?
Yeah, I would love to be an analyst,
Okay.
On any network just calling college basketball games. I grew up watching college basketball my entire life, so I think that would be my dream job. A lot of people talk about the prep. Oh, you have to watch so many games, to watch so many films. I love doing that, so I think it would be a dream for me.
It's not really work, is it?
No, not work at all.
I want to ask you about this year's team, because there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of buzz, a great incoming freshman class coming in, of course, a bunch of transfers out of the portal as well. First year in the Big 12. There's so many different things going on. You're just a couple days away from the Duke exhibition, but then the regular season starts on November 5th. What have you noticed from this team, and what do Sun Devil fans, what should they expect from this style of basketball?
Yeah, I think it's a lot more athleticism, and we have a good blend of young talent and old talent. In college, you need experience to win, but at the same time, sometimes you got to out-talent teams and just have better players, which I think, no disrespect to previous teams, but this is just a very talented team. So I think you'll see a good blend. We're still learning how to play with each other, so there's obviously going to be some bumps, but we're really just improving.
How excited are you knowing that, you've had a secret scrimmage and you're kind of getting into that mojo, but let's talk specifically about Sunday against Duke. How excited are you as a competitor to finally see another name on the chest across from you instead of having to run reps against your teammates all the time?
Yeah, I don't think people understand that. When you are playing the same 6 or 7 people the entire summer and throughout this early fall period, it kind of gets irritating. You kind of just want to knock someone over, but it's good to finally just come together as a team and, okay, we have an opponent that's not ourselves.
Last one for you. Going into the Big 12, a conference that many would consider the best conference in college basketball, if not number 1, number 2, right there at the top. You're a competitor, and I know everyone in the program is a competitor. What's that like to know you're going to be competing in the best of the best in terms of college basketball conferences?
It's great. I think the Pac-12 was a tremendous conference. I think it did have some downsides with fan crowds and just some of the locations, but the Big 12 is going to have a lot of fans. It's going to be really competitive. There's no trap games in the Big 12. You lose a game, it's probably not a bad loss.
Yeah.
So I think we're looking forward to just playing free. You'll have a really good opponent every night, and we're excited.
There's no reason not to pack DFA each and every night. It's also the part of this
Probably
as well.
a top 25 team. So
yeah, it probably will be, or a team that made the NCAA tournament either last year or most likely will be this year. How about this guy right here, huh? He's poised, he's seasoned, he's ready to go on the hardwood as well. ASU and Duke, Sunday at 4 o'clock, exhibition game, and then regular season gets going on November 5th. Thanks a lot, Bobby.
thanks.
We'll be right back on Sun Devil Extra. Back here on Sun Devil Extra here on the campus of Arizona State University, rejoined again by Sun Devil Athletic Director Graham Rossini. And now time for a little bit of a rapid fire segment where we kind of bake in everything that's going on around campus. There's so much happening, of course, and we kind of give you a recap of what was last week and tell you about what is to come. Starting with hockey, they were on the road against number 14 Providence over the weekend. They lost both of those games against a really good Friars program. They'll be on the road again. The road warrior mentality for Greg Powers and his coaching staff will continue this weekend against Northern Michigan on Friday and Saturday, so a chance to bounce back. It's been a really tough start to the season scheduling-wise. Of course, this will be the 5th and 6th road matchups already for the hockey program. You've already faced 2 top 15 programs in Michigan and Providence, and now a chance to kind of get right this weekend against Northern Michigan, it seems.
Yeah, well, I think the hockey community has showed us that every team is competitive now.
Right.
And, this year probably more than the recent years that we've been in, where there's a lot of talent in college hockey. I think that's only going to continue to get better. and we're emerging as kind of a target, right? Now we're in the NCHC, and there's no let up. Every weekend's going to be a battle. I do like the fact that out the gate, playing Michigan, playing Providence, much like we've talked about in basketball and even the football schedule of challenging ourselves, really understanding what do we have, letting the coaches make real-time adjustments in the season, and not getting lulled into a artificial sense of confidence. If we're playing a lighter schedule and we're winning a lot of games, then we get into the gauntlet of the NCHC. So, a lot that the coaching staff has been able to use early in the first 3 weeks of the season, making some adjustments. We'll see how they perform this weekend on the road, and then we'll look up and we'll be in conference games in hockey here in a matter of a couple of weeks. So, definitely a good weekend to kind of get it back on track, and more than anything else, build that confidence that this is a top 20 program, much like we were ranked to start the season, and kind of go into the NCHC schedule with some momentum and some optimism on the roster.
Kind of want to get your elaboration on that a bit more, because I do think the scheduling, and I know it's program by program, but it definitely is a stress point for Sun Devil Athletics this year. I mean, you're not just going out there and scheduling cupcakes, if you will, in the non-conference. There are challenging opponents, and that might lead to a couple losses here and there, but it's something that this athletic department really seems to be taking seriously. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, it's a credit to our coaches that they're competitors. I think more than anything else is these are a lot of high motor, competitive individuals that have taken that mindset into how they coach their programs. And we don't want to play a light schedule and mask deficiencies or inefficiencies within our program. We want to play the best because we have those same aspirations. And so when you look across a number of sports and you see ranked non-conference opponents, I always find that a good indication of the mindset of not only the coaching staff, but the entire program, in terms of we welcome that battle, we welcome those challenges, we want to see where we stack up against top 25 programs in every sport, and then top 10 programs in every sport, and then what a top 5 program looks like, because we've got the aspirations on getting to that level. And so I like the mindset, I like the chance to challenge ourselves. That might come at the expense of wins and losses, but I think the growth moments that happen in that environment are so profoundly powerful in the long run of very long seasons, very competitive sports, and there's just no replacement for those kind of lessons learned along the way.
Yeah, some of those aspects obviously are what make up Sun Devils. Another way that can make up a Sun Devil is, being active in the community. Yeah. And I want to touch on women's basketball. We've had a lot of men's basketball talk today, but I want to touch on women's basketball, and obviously what Coach Adair and that program, they take it very seriously to be active in the community, not just show face, but really make it a vocal point of their program. What can you say about how active they are in the community and what it means to not only their program, but really Sun Devil Athletics as a whole?
Yeah, I give Coach Adair a lot of credit for taking what Coach Dillingham talked about, Activate the Valley, and that's not just a football sentiment, that's an overall ASU sentiment. And Coach A has done a great job, particularly in basketball, where that sport has been subject to a lot of movement in the transfer portal. Thankfully, we've been on the recipient edge of that for both men's and women's this year, but in the women's team in particular, women's basketball and having this incredible national attention at all levels of the sport, really important that our ASU community is building awareness and connections with the young ladies on the team. And so she's done a masterful job going back to last summer on having our team out in the community, a lot of volunteering during the WNBA All-Star Game. They were in a fashion show a couple of days ago last weekend. Different pockets of youth basketball, of cultural moments, different events happening around the Valley where she's putting these young women in a position to build relationships, to connect with our fans, to get some awareness. We've got a lot of marketing across the Valley that's going to be pushing women's basketball awareness as we go into the season. And so the more that we can create one-on-one connections in any sport, but particularly women's basketball, as we're trying to really get a groundswell of support around what they're doing. Having the athletes out and about in the community, building relationships, meeting people, it's just a chance to build fans. And when the community is the benefactor of that time well spent, I think that's just an incredible way for us to be putting our young people in a chance to grow and, more importantly, have success in life.
Building that fan base, and that fan base will have a chance to see them for the first time November 4th. Again, we've said it a few times, but November 4th against Jacksonville State. That is their home opener, season opener as well, so be sure to come on out, because they do certainly activate the Valley. They back the Valley, all of those things that we...
And we're healthy. We're big, we're athletic, and we're healthy in women's basketball. So that's a great place to be starting the season.
Yeah, hopefully some Showtime basketball out on the floor this year for Sun Devil women's hoops. Let's go over to the links now, talk some golf, because both our men's and women's golf programs have been excellent over the course of this season. Men's golf just barely wrapped up. We're recording here on a Tuesday. Just barely wrapped up their Williams Cup tournament in North Carolina. Second place, just one shot back of North Carolina. Obviously another really good golf school. So right there in the hunt. And then we have to give a shout out to a friend of the program. Coach Matt Thurmond was inducted into the Golf Coaches Association of America. That's a
Congrats,
little bit of a tongue tie,
awesome.
but yes, class of 2024. So again, we've said it before, you come on the show, good things happen. But no, for real, obviously awesome for Coach Thurmond to be recognized and Hall of Fame inductee this year.
Yeah, hard worker. He deserves everything that comes his way. He's a tremendous leader. He's a tremendous man and well revered in the golf community.
Meanwhile, on the women's side of things, well, they're setting marks that they haven't since 2020, ranked 4th right now, and that's their highest ranking since the year of 2020. So they're starting to trend in the right direction, obviously being a top 5 program in the country, and they're playing some really good golf. They had a nice invitational in Stanford over the weekend, and starting to turn heads as well.
Yeah, I think I ran into Missy as we wrapped last week's show, and she was so excited to share, number 4 ranking to start the season, highest in quite some time, if not ever. And yeah, it goes to show. I mean, this is a tremendous community for golf here in the Valley. We've been able to be very mindful of that over the years and building the quality of our both men's and women's programs. And so it's nice to see them get that national acclaim. It's nice to see them be in a position to go compete at a high level, and having the results that they are is very, very exciting. Long season,
yes,
challenging championship format. That's one of the sports that almost goes wire to wire, it seems. And so they're put through the ringer, but we've got the right people leading those programs.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And the success, it speaks for themselves. Speaking of success, let's now talk about men's and swim dive, as they are on the road now for their first big ranked meet of the year, if you will. They'll be down in Raleigh, North Carolina, taking on NC State. Yep. And folks, keep an eye on this over the weekend, because the rankings speak for themselves. Our men's team ranked 6th, NC State ranked 5th. Then on the women's side of things, the Devils ranked 18th, NC State ranked 12th. So a great top 20 matchup. Top 5 matchup on the men's side as well, top 6, I should say, and a great opportunity for the defending national champion men's team to really kind of test their mettle, see where they're at against the North Carolina State squad. Should be a lot of fun, and those kind of matchups early on in a season that you can really build off of a lot of things. Whether you win or lose, it's something you can really take moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I give our swim and dive coaches and program a lot of credit for, again, they want the challenge. They want to put ourselves in hostile environments. When you win a championship, the environment's not going to be easy. And so the more that you can replicate that at different points of the season, I think there's no replacement for it. I love the fact that both men's and women's programs put themselves in that challenging environment. I also love that the men's and women's teams are pushing each other in a way that's enormously healthy. And they share coaches, they share facilities, they're together a lot of time, and I think there's that kind of sibling rivalry dynamic between the men's and the women's programs on pushing each other for excellence, and that's nothing but healthy in my opinion.
How about the Devils down in North Carolina this weekend? You got men's, women's swim and dive, you've got men's basketball on Sunday. If you're a Sun Devil in that part of the country, you are loving life.
Absolutely.
Right now, and go take advantage of that against a couple of ACC teams this weekend. How about men's tennis? There's been a lot of individual success around Sun Devil athletics so far this year, and Murphy Casone added on to that this weekend. He won the ATP title in Calgary as the first ever career win for him. That's a big accomplishment, of course, and just goes to show the individual talent. Of course, we talk so much about team success, as we should, but there's a lot of great individual talent here around campus in this athletic department, and certainly Murphy showed that this weekend, winning that tournament. A big congratulations to him and to the men's tennis program. I know that's something that they'll be able to use in recruiting as well. Yeah,
Coach Hill is a masterful recruiter. Getting Murphy on campus in the first place, and he's going to need his own trophy room when it's all said and done, because you look up and it feels like Murphy's been here for a decade and has racked up a lot of titles and a lot of accolades in his time. He's got a bright future playing professional tennis. And yeah, I mean, I think those individual milestones are always great. He's pushing his team. It's great attention for what we're doing. Tennis is another one of those programs that is so powerful in our community, both on the men's and women's side, and a good extension of ASU out into the tennis community that's all over the Valley. Those are typically very international rosters, but we're starting to see a lot more local West Coast interest in both our men's and women's programs on the recruiting front. And when you've got a guy like Murphy having the success that he's having, it brings so much goodwill and good attention into both the men's and women's programs here at ASU.
Speaking of things you can do this weekend in the Valley, well, we're both baseball guys by trade, and you've got fall ball. I know the World Series starting up in the professional ranks, but How about fall ball already getting going at Muni on Saturday? First pitch will be at noon. They're taking on Cal Baptist over the weekend, and I know they have stuff next week as well. But as a former player,
Yeah.
what about fall ball was important? What could you really take from that moving forward? I know this coaching staff obviously welcoming in a bunch of new faces this year, but a chance to get out there against another team for the first time on Saturday.
Yeah, I miss fall ball. That's when I played my best baseball. It didn't really translate to the spring so well, but fall ball I had a really good run.
You were Mr. October then.
The wrong kind of Mr. October. So it didn't work out so well in the long run. But yeah, it's amazing that we're at that point in the baseball fall where they're now competing against some other programs, a good way to really understand what this new team is going to look like. You've got a good mixture of veteran players. Jacob Tobias coming back for senior year. That's exciting. We just had 4 guys named on Baseball America's top 100 college prospects. Brandon Compton, who's come out of nowhere, local product out of Buckeye, who's going to be high on a draft board this spring. Isaiah Jackson, Kian Vu, Ben Jacobs, who was a transfer from UCLA. And so it's nice that these guys get these fall moments to really kind of tweak their craft. Baseball season is long. These guys go out and play in the summertime, so it's nice to use the fall as a way to really, make some mechanical adjustments and get tweaked before they get going in February. A lot of excitement around this roster. Brand new pitching coach, Jeremy Accardo, coming in. Early commentary has been exceptional, that Jeremy's done a good job using our Whiteman Family Performance Center, our pitching lab, which we're lucky to have. Jason Ellison coming in as our new hitting coach. Early returns from the kids have been very strong on both of them, and we're excited to see how those guys take the talent on the roster as we prepare for the season. So a lot going on in baseball. We got Austin Barnes in the World Series with the Dodgers, so that's always exciting. Not one to usually root for the Dodgers, but with Barnesy on the team, happy to look for them to have some success here in the real Fall Classic. But yeah, nice that baseball is right around the corner as well.
You can be shy about it. I'll root for the Dodgers vocally. That's
Can't do
okay.
it.
Okay, that's all right.
Can't
but
do it.
The Yankees
Go
Dodgers
Barnesy.
coming up. Yeah, go Barnesy. That's right. He is a Sun Devil legend, and of course, been a Dodger for a long time now. The state-of-the-art facilities over at Muni. I mean, that's huge for recruiting, and of course, you mentioned with the new pitching coach, new hitting coach as well. A lot of new staff members this year, but those facilities, it's got to be like a playground for those coaches and the players alike, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a big vision. Obviously, I've lived Sun Devil baseball. I'm as frustrated as anybody that the last 15 years have not been the high level of Sun Devil baseball that we're all used to in the Valley. We're working very hard. Coach Bloomquist, this is a guy that left Major League Baseball retirement because he loves his program so much and wants to do everything in his power to get us back on the national scene. And I think we're poised for a big jump this season. We've got an exceptional coaching staff with the additions of Jeremy and Jason coming in. We've got our pitching lab built out with all the bells and whistles. That is a true competitive advantage for us. We've had a number of donors, including the Whiteman family, step up to make that a reality. The Gallagher family from Mike Gallagher, who was a letter winner, passed away a few years ago. And so we've been able to use this as a true teaching tool. We're going to see that pay some dividends when we get in the season. We're upgrading the lights at Phoenix Muni, so the new LED lights that are pretty much a standard across baseball now. We were behind in that, and so we're lucky to be putting an investment back into baseball. We've got a big vision for making Phoenix Muni the most incredible fan experience paired with the most meaningful baseball in the state, and we're lucky to learn from a lot of the spring training ballparks in the Valley that are unbelievable game day fan experiences, but they're there to watch practice baseball.
Sure.
We want that kind of a game day experience, plus the most meaningful baseball in the state of Arizona. And so, we're making some strides this year. We've got a bigger vision for things that we can do with our baseball program, but excited that we'll look up and we'll be in the spring, competing for a Big 12 championship and hopefully getting back into that national conversation soon.
Yeah, no question about that. I know the actual season's still a ways away, but as we said, Saturday at noon, if you're trying to enjoy some nice weather this weekend, no better place to do it than at Muni.
Right?
It's finally fall. Quarter zip season, he's doing it. I need to wear one next week. But as we said, football, of course, on a bye. That does not mean, as you just heard, there is nothing going on. Plenty going on around Sun Devil Athletics this week. And, of course, hopefully plenty of good things to talk about next weekend as well. Big thank you for tuning in this week. Graham, thanks as always. A great job chopping it up with you. We'll talk to you next week here on Sun Devil Extra.